Ladies and gents, welcome back. We're getting back to the Dutch farmer's tale and how this affects the world and, well, how this affects Canada in particular. Let's have a look here. It's all over Twitter, especially this image here. It's coming out. You'll never see this photo of Dutch farmers on your television. Klaus knows if images like this were to ever make the mainstream media, it would motivate and inspire the whole world, and the globalists will be done. Course, talking about Cotton Schwab, the grand Q-tip from the World Economic Forum, Klausy boy. I also posted this one saying there is a fourth industrial revolution coming, but it doesn't include central planners. Decentralization seems to be the key in this new movement. The World Economic Forum basically told farmers that 30% of their livestock needed to be slaughtered due to climate, plus 30% the next year. They were told their businesses simply didn't fit into the World Economic future. The World Economic Forum future, sorry. Yeah, we have here police. Oh, how cute. Trying to move hay bales off the road. Most people don't realize how much work it goes into farming. It's not exactly the easiest profession in the world. Yes, farmers work very, very hard for what they produce, and they work hard for all of us, and they do it selflessly and in quiet every day, and we all get the benefits of having food. It's not very difficult to understand. So, yeah, it's people aren't really grasping yet the weight of this situation. Definitely. It's growing and growing and growing all over Europe, as we see here. We have here a video from Kian Bexty. Wow, it's crazy to see Dutch and German farmers meet at the... Excuse me, very loud. Crazy to see Dutch and German farmers meet at the border, shake hands, exchange flags, and continue their protests against tyrannical World Economic Forum law. This is amazing to see. So lots of people coming together, bridging gaps, cultural gaps that people had, cultural divides that people had over the border between Netherlands and Germany here, exchanging flags and then continuing on with their protests. Amazing, amazing to see. Bernie's tweets out there saying, World Economic Forum has revealed plans to buy up farmland from Dutch farmers who are bankrupted by climate change policies. This was never about climate change, only about societal change. Eyes wide open, as we can see. And what the Dutch farmers are saying out loud and clear, this is to bankrupt them. It's really that simple. You take away a farmer's 50% of the farmer's ability to make a living. You're going to take away 50% of their ability to pay their bills. Their bills don't go down, and yeah, they'll have to sell their land, and that's the whole point. That's the whole point. Reduce them down to having to sell their property to, well, who's buying up all the property? Well, Bill Gates, BlackRock, all these types. Canadian farmers warn of Netherlands scenario over emissions targets. So this is how it's going to affect Canada. This is from True North. Of course, as always, links in the description down below. As farmers' protests rage in the Netherlands and beyond, the head of one of Canada's premier agricultural groups is warning that strict domestic emissions targets could spur similar reaction from the industry. Strict nitrogen and ammonia emissions caps by the Dutch government have sparked nationwide protests. Tens of thousands of farmers and their supporters have formed convoys throughout the country demanding a referendum on government measures. As a result of the chaos, farmers have been fired upon by police. According to President of the Western Canadian Wheat Growers, Gunter Jochum, I think that's how it's pronounced. Apologies, Mr. Jochum, if that's not how it is done. Canadian farmers could also have their backs against the wall as a result of emissions targets. We have talked to other producer groups who are very concerned about exactly the same scenario. and we'll go to these lengths like what's happening, or will we go to these lengths like what's happening in the Netherlands? I don't know, Joachim told True North, but all I can say is if you push farmers back up against a wall where their livelihood is at stake and it's a direct result of government overreach and non-science-based policies, then who knows what could happen. And that's a real sentiment. That's a real sentiment. Seriously, if you're going to threaten to take away people's livelihoods with policy, and policy that's nonsensical, it just doesn't make sense. It's gobbledygook. How to lie with statistics. Hey, that's a great book out there. Just about to read it. Guess who it was recommended by? Bill Gates. How to Lie with Statistics. So we'll use global warming statistics to scam farmers out of their land. 2 years ago, the Liberal government introduced 30% emission reduction targeting for fertilizer use in the agricultural industry. In comparison, the Netherlands has instituted a 50% emissions cut on nitrogen and ammonia emissions by 2030. So very similar approaches, 50% cuts, 30% cuts, depends on what's going on. See, this is for this, The fertilizer target objective is to contribute to the lower greenhouse gas emissions from the agricultural sector, building on the leveraging public and private programs and initiatives, an Agricultural Canada discussion document writes. And this is really interesting because they're talking about ammonia and nitrogen. I remember a while back reading in Popular Mechanics about, I think it was Popular Mechanics, it was somewhere where they were talking about how to reduce CO2. Maybe we could use ammonia to fuel airplanes. Okay, now it's ammonia. Now ammonia is the problem. The target applies to both direct following fertilizer application and indirect from nitrogen leached from fields and volatilizing into the atmosphere as ammonia. I don't know why they use this word. It just evaporated. It would be a better word. You're just confusing people. Emissions from the application of fertilizer. As exclusively reported by True North, Agriculture Canada also signaled out the wheat industry as being among the worst emissions offenders when it comes to fertilizer use. According to Joachim, targets on fertilizer do not adequately take into account how efficient its use already is, leaving some agriculture producers with little wiggle room when it comes to reducing emissions. Seriously, these are politicians coming up with these ideas. They have no idea how much fertilizer it takes for particular crops. So they just say, oh, the wheat producers seem to be using more fertilizer. They're the worst. It's like, well, maybe you can grow more per square footage. Maybe they need more fertilizer for growing it. I don't know the details, but I'm just speculating, and I'm already coming up with better ideas than these horrible politicians. I have a real problem with just blanket saying we need to reduce fertilizer use by X amount or X percent when there really isn't a real baseline established, Joachim told True North. And there you go. Now, all these grants, like different amounts of fertilizer, and so just to say, okay, we'll reduce it based on this year, and that tonnage would be very foolish. The other problem is each crop, each weather event, each different types of fertilizer, and every scenario has different emissions. Absolutely. So here we go. We got a bunch of politicians trying to pretend like they understand the farming industry, the chemistry behind it, the biology behind it. They have no clue what they're talking about. They're going to these meetings in Davos and drinking their wine and saying, yeah, I know what I'll do. I'm just going to cut these numbers by a bunch. And as if that's ever going to help anything. No, this is actually destroying things. And this is why a lot of people believe that this is intentional. And yes, a lot of land is being usurped by these government agencies or farmers being put out of business where they would have to sell their land and then get gobbled up by interests that have a different agenda than what we've known for so many years for this land. And well, yeah, let me know what you think in the comments down below. What are they planning to do with this land that they're trying to take from the farmers? And does this actually make sense? Have I got it all wrong? Let me know in the comments down below. Is there some real science behind these numbers that they're throwing out and trying to put farmers out of business? I don't think there is, but let me know if you think there is. That's all I got for you this morning on this. If you're not subscribed already, hit that subscribe button and hit that like button. We'll see you in the next video. Keep on trucking.